All right, welcome back to another wonderful lecture on economics, and we're continuing our series on markets using the tools of supply and demand. So whenever you use supply and demand as tools to analyze markets, you're going to draw a graph, and it's very important that you label your graph correctly. So on the vertical axis up top on the left, we're going to write down P for price. So that's what we're measuring on our vertical axis. Down bottom on our horizontal axis, we're going to write Q for quantity. Right? And then pretty much all of these graphs, now there will be exceptions to this rule, but generic graphs start off with our X, with our downward sloping demand curve. So we draw that downward sloping and we label that D for demand. And then we draw an upward sloping supply curve and we label that S for supply. Now remember, demand is downward sloping because it shows the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. As price goes down, quantity demanded increases. As price increases, quantity demanded goes down. Right? So there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. The supply curve obviously works the opposite for sellers. Sellers are induced by price. So an increase in price increases quantity supplied. A decrease in price decreases quantity supplied. So ceteris paribus, other things being equal, the most important determinant of both quantity demanded and quantity supplied is the price in the market. Right? So we're going to analyze, say, okay, what happens when something other than price happens in the market? So we're going to write down natural gas up top here. So this is the market for natural gas. Now this is not gasoline. This is not the gas you put in your car. Right? This is natural gas, which can be used to fuel homes and then used for electricity and such. So what's been going on? We'll do a real world example here. What's been going on in the real world with natural gas? So first we're going to write down what happened in the market, and we're going to talk about how that affected either supply or demand. So what happened was, let's draw our equilibrium. So here's where we started the market. Here's P1 and Q1 at E1. That's equilibrium 1. So here's where we were. This is equilibrium in the market. So much price and so much quantity based on buyers and sellers, right? And then over on the right, we're going to write this down. What happens if new discoveries? So this has been going on all along the east coast of the United States here. New discoveries of natural gas. And we're becoming like, the United States is becoming like the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. We've had so much of this stuff. It's really a question of how we're going to employ it, right? So obviously with new discoveries of natural gas, well, that's going to be a non-price determinant of supply. And the easiest one to associate this with is, we're going to write down an arrow up and then the number sign, and we're going to write down of sellers. An increase in the number of sellers. Because there's simply many more sellers of natural gas. So think about all of the people who owned these properties in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, all up and along down the East Coast. They can now sell the natural gas that's trapped in the shale rock of their beneath their properties. So an increase in the number of sellers. So what would that do to supply? That's going to increase. We'll draw an arrow up. It increases supply. Right? So we're going to draw a rightward shifted supply curve on the graph we've already drawn. Rightward shifted supply. Whoops, that's demand. We're going to label that S1. And where S1 intersects our existing demand curve, we're going to come up with E2, equilibrium 2. And then we're going to draw on our new price-quantity relationship. So we'll label them P2 and Q2. Okay. And then we write the results underneath what we've already written over here. So what happened in the market? And as we can see, price went down, so we write price and an arrow down, and quantity went up. Right, so an arrow down for price, and quantity went up. And that's exactly what happened lately over the last 6 months to a year. The natural gas market, the price of natural gas keeps plummeting because we keep discovering more and more natural gas. All right, we'll see you in the next lecture.